Hey everybody, this week, as you know, we are talking about skills and emotional intelligence. So let's learn a little bit about why it's important to examine your own skill base, learn about the skills that you already have that you can utilize and the ones that you should develop depending on your career path and your own awareness of your strengths and weaknesses. And then we'll understand a little bit more about what emotional intelligence means. All right. Okay, so let's start off with kind of defining skills. I mean, I think we all know what a skill is. But if you look at it in a more broad sense, skills are your own attributes, talents, personal qualities, right? But they serve as self-motivators, right? So skills are what motivate us to do the things that we do well and the things that we enjoy. So basically, if you're in a career path where you're utilizing some of your best skills, it's going to lead to a happier career because you're utilizing your strengths and your instead of fighting your weaknesses every day. Okay, so we all have a whole set of weaknesses. We all have a whole set of strengths. So ideally, you're finding a job that utilizes those strengths so that, again, things are coming a little more naturally to you. Developed through the process of living. Basically, again, you don't have all the skills you're going to have today, right? You develop them through life experience, by being in college, having different jobs. We're always growing and developing as people. And so that's why it's important to continue to assess where you are and what you might need to continue to develop. And they're also what you offer an employer. Or like your currency. So anytime you end up in an interview, you're going to have to talk about yourself and what you're going to bring to that organization. Why should they hire you over the next person in line? And that's going to be you talking about your skills. Okay. So let's break down some ideas of different types of skills. Functional skills. So they're basically skills that can be maybe related to a certain type of like what we call like a hard skill, but not associated with a specific job. So like maintaining a schedule, collecting data, responding to a problem. So like if you're an administrative assistant, those are things you're going to do on a regular basis, regardless of what kind of maybe company or organization you're with. Okay, so functional skills. Work context skills. So those are ones directly related to a job. So bookkeeping is done by a bookkeeper, or accounting is done by an accountant, plumbing is done by a plumber. So they're specific to a job. Self-management or adaptive skills. Sometimes these are known as soft skills. And this is a really crucial part of any job. Some examples might be the ability to learn quickly, attention to detail, are you cooperative, are you self-motivated and directed? And these again are often skills you learn through life and through college. And these are what really employers want to see. You're going to see in some of the videos that I have you watch in this module, an ongoing theme is that employers are willing to teach people hard skills, computer skills, coding, how to use a certain database system, whatever that might be. But what they can't train for are adaptive or self-management skills, soft skills. So they're really looking for people that possess things like this because often that is harder and harder to find. And so these become really important and really what employers want. Transferable skills are very similar. There's a lot of crossover in the two terms, but you're going to hear this word a lot, transferable skills. And again, this is often what is associated with getting a degree, with going to college and getting work experience as well. So things like professionalism, written communication, oral communication, teamwork, collaboration, critical thinking, and creative problem solving. You'll see these in your textbook as well. And this is what, this is another thing that employers are always looking for. The list you see here are the top skills they want when they're hiring. And these are often things that are hard to demonstrate, but that can come through a process of education and experience. So again, this is what employers want. You know, some repetitive stuff here. They want work ethic, communication skills, interpersonal, the ability to research and gather information. Okay, so yeah, you might be able to Google anything on the earth right now, but how do you break that information down and make it valuable to people? The ability to problem solve, influence people, be flexible, be honest, have integrity. These are the kind of things they're going to be screening for. And, the days of graduating with college without any experience are gone. Experience is really essential. Having an associate degree or bachelor's degree is not your only ticket in the door. And so you might think, well, how do I get some of these skills outside of the classroom? Internships, volunteering, working, studying abroad, really honing in on your hobbies and thinking about those and the skills that you gain from them. And student leadership, clubs on campus, student government. I know we all have different lives. You may work full time, you might be a parent, a caretaker. So sometimes our lives don't always allow for a lot of extracurricular. But you want to start to think about when you get ready to look for your first job, what else are you going to bring to the table outside of your education? How are you going to set yourself apart? So how can you start to think about working some of these things into your life? And EQ. Okay, so EQ and IQ. EQ, which is the acronym for emotional intelligence. This is quite a buzzword, if you will, today. And there is a ton of information out there on EQ. There's a book written about it that a lot of organizations are tapping into and using. So why do you think employers might value it over IQ? So now IQ is our intelligence measurement. So people with a really high IQ, are considered like a genius, or, might be at Caltech right now, planning our next physics discovery. EQ is about yourself, your emotions, managing your emotions, working well with other people, understanding other people and their own work styles. And a lot of that comes through self-assessment, which is what you're doing in this class. And so the more self-aware you are of your weaknesses, your strengths, how you handle yourself in different situations is going to give you a stronger EQ. And in this module, I've included a video and a quiz to give you a little more background on what it's all about. But a quick overview, again, the ability to assess and supervise your own emotions, thoughts, and self, to be aware of the emotions of others and groups, right? So can you pick up on the vibe of the room is another way to say that, right? You're running a meeting and no one's paying attention. How should you do it differently? So it's about working with other people. How to discriminate among your emotions and use this information to guide your future actions. So, we're not perfect, right? We're human beings. We might all have moments where we lose our temper, we say the wrong thing, but the idea is, what are you learning from that and how are you going to self-correct? And again, it's about being aware of other people's emotions and using that to communicate with them effectively. Okay, so you're going to work with coworkers, bosses, your professors, your friends, and the more you can kind of understand how they communicate versus how you communicate, what their preferences are, the easier you're going to find it to be cooperative, get along, and really understand people and be more productive. Some characteristics of people with high EQ, okay? They have a work-life balance, right? So they're not, people might think, oh, workaholics, what great employees. No, not necessarily, right? That burnout is going to catch up with them. They're focused. They know how to be creative. They listen first. Okay, so a lot of times we're always wanting to jump in and say something, but it's important to listen and let people talk. They don't strive to be a perfectionist. Okay, perfectionism can get in the way of productivity. They don't accept the first answer. Okay, so they're, again, critical thinking skills. How else can we solve this problem? Moving past mistakes and owning them. This is huge, right? So we've all maybe worked with people who throw somebody under the bus, aka blame someone else for their mistakes. It is much more valued if you own a mistake and come with a solution, right? So we all make mistakes. We're human beings. We're not robots. It's going to happen. So if you just own it and come up with a solution, you're going to be way more respected than with the obvious cover-up or the obvious pushing the blame on someone else. And then you know how to channel your anger, right? You know how to control yourself in different situations. So this was just a brief overview of some of the main concepts in the chapter. And again, there's a lot of videos in this module, and I hope that they really help demonstrate the importance of skills and emotional intelligence.